Sarah, 28, working in customer service at a tech retail store. Think I'm basically the voice of reason in this male-dominated hellscape. Every day is a new opportunity to educate these knuckle-draggers about basic human decency. Today starts like any other day, ready to fight the patriarchy, one interaction at a time. Walking into work, notice my coworker Angus setting up displays. He's doing it wrong, obviously. Angus, you know that arrangement is really playing into consumerist gender stereotypes, right? He looks confused. Sarah, it's just electronics. The gaming stuff goes on this shelf. Right, and who do you think that's targeting? You're literally perpetuating the myth that technology is a boys' club. Angus sighs, continues working. Look, I'm just following the planogram the company sent us. The company that's run by men, making decisions that exclude women from tech spaces. Sarah, women shop here all the time. Shopping isn't the same as feeling welcomed into the space, Angus. There's a difference between being a consumer and being seen as belonging. Angus stops what he's doing, actually turns to face me. Okay, I'll buy it. What would you do differently? Finally, someone willing to learn. Well, for starters, we could integrate products instead of segregating them by assumed gender preferences. You mean put the pink phone cases next to the gaming keyboards? It's not about pink, Angus. It's about dismantling the assumption that certain technologies belong to certain genders. Angus rubs his temples. Sarah, I've been doing this job for 3 years. Customers find what they want faster when similar things are grouped together. That's because they've been conditioned to think that way by systems like this one. Or maybe people just want to find a phone charger without having to search through the entire store. Getting frustrated with his resistance to growth. This is exactly the kind of thinking that keeps women out of STEM fields, Angus. We sell phone accessories and tablets, Sarah. We're not NASA. Every space is a learning space. Every interaction shapes how people see themselves in relation to technology. Customer walks in, middle-aged guy. Aged guy, looking for a laptop. Angus starts to approach him, but I intercept. Time to model inclusive customer service. Hi there. What kind of laptop are you looking for today? Something for my daughter. She's starting college, wants to study engineering. Perfect opportunity to make a point. That's fantastic. Engineering is such an important field, and we need more women in it. Customer nods politely. Yeah, she's always been good with math and science. Has she had to deal with much discouragement? A lot of girls get pushed away from STEM because of societal expectations. Customer looks a bit uncomfortable. Not really. Her teachers have been supportive. That's good, but she should be prepared for what she'll face in college. Engineering programs can be pretty hostile environments for women. Hostile? Her campus visit seemed fine. Well, it's not always obvious. Microaggressions, being talked over in class, professors unconsciously favoring male students. Angus appears next to us. Sarah, maybe we should focus on finding the right laptop specs. Giving him a look that says, I've got this. The technical specs matter, but so does understanding the context she'll be using it in. Turn back to customer. She'll probably want something that can handle CAD software, but also something that doesn't scream gamer girl, if you know what I mean. Customer looks confused. I'm not sure I follow. A lot of engineering software is marketed toward men with aggressive gaming aesthetics that can make women feel like outsiders in their own field. She just said she wanted something fast with good graphics. Right, but the way these things are marketed matters. She shouldn't have to choose between performance and feeling like the technology is designed for her. Angus jumps in. We have several laptops that meet her performance needs. Would you like to see some options? Customer nods enthusiastically, clearly wants to move forward. But I'm not done educating yet. Before we look at specific models, has she considered the broader implications of entering a field where she'll be surrounded by men who might not take her seriously? Customer's enthusiasm fades. What do you mean? Studies show that women in engineering face higher rates of imposter syndrome, partly because they're constantly having to prove themselves in ways their male peers don't. She seems pretty confident. That's great, but confidence can be worn down by systemic barriers. Has she thought about finding other women in her program to connect with? Angus is getting visibly annoyed. Sir, if you'd like to see some laptops, I can show you our engineering-friendly models. Customer looks relieved. Yes, please. Following them to the laptop display. Angus, you're missing an opportunity to have a meaningful conversation about representation in tech. Angus stops walking. Sarah, can I talk to you for a minute? We shouldn't exclude the customer from conversations about inclusion. Customer speaks up. Actually, I'm fine just looking at laptops. My daughter can handle the social stuff herself. But that's exactly the problem, putting the burden on her to navigate systems that weren't designed with her in mind. Angus is staring at me hard. Sarah, now. Fine, whatever. Excuse ourselves to the back room. What is wrong with you today? Angus demands. I'm trying to provide customer service that actually serves customers instead of just perpetuating harmful systems. You just spent 10 minutes telling a father that his daughter is going to fail because she's a woman. I didn't say she was going to fail. I said she'll face challenges that male students don't face. Angus is pacing now. Do you hear yourself? This guy comes in happy and excited about his daughter's future, and you're telling him she's doomed to fail because of her gender. I'm giving him realistic expectations so he can support her better. You're projecting your own issues onto a complete stranger's family. My issues? Angus, this isn't about me. This is about systemic inequality. No, Sarah. This is about you making everything political when people just want to buy a computer. Everything is political. That's the point you keep missing. A father buying his daughter a laptop is not a political statement. The fact that you think it's not political is exactly the privilege you need to examine. Angus stops pacing, looks at me like he's seeing me for the first time. Sarah, do you realize what you just did to that interaction? I tried to inject some awareness into a conversation that was happening in a bubble of privilege. You took a man's joy about his daughter's achievements and turned it into anxiety about her future failures. Getting defensive because he's clearly not understanding the bigger picture. I'm trying to prepare them for reality. Whose reality, Sarah? Yours. The reality of women in STEM fields. Have you worked in a STEM field, Sarah? Pause. That's not the point. I don't need personal experience to understand systemic oppression. Angus laughs, but not in a happy way. Right, so you've never experienced what you're warning them about, but you're certain it's going to happen to his daughter. Research exists, Angus. Statistics exist. And so do individual people who don't fit your statistics. Exceptions don't disprove patterns. But patterns don't define individuals either. We go back out to find the customer looking at laptops with another employee, Jake. They seem to be having a normal, productive conversation about processing power and warranty options. Approach them to rejoin the conversation. Sorry about that. Did Jake explain our inclusive tech support options? Jake looks confused. Inclusive tech support? You know, making sure she has resources for dealing with bias in her program. Customer interrupts. Actually, we're just comparing these two models. Jake's been really helpful explaining the technical differences. Technical differences are important, but so is the social context of technology. Jake and the customer exchange a look. Customer speaks carefully. I appreciate your concern, but I think my daughter is capable of handling whatever comes up. Of course she's capable. That's not the issue. The issue is that she shouldn't have to handle extra challenges just because she's a woman. Jake tries to redirect. So between these two laptops, the main difference is... Interrupting because this is important. Before we talk specs, has anyone discussed with her the importance of documenting incidents of bias? It can be really valuable for women in tech to keep records. Customer looks actually annoyed now. Records of what? She hasn't even started classes yet. Right, but being proactive about these things helps. When microaggressions happen, and they will happen, having documentation can be really empowering. You keep talking about all these terrible things that are going to happen to her. Why, finally, a direct question I can really address. Because ignoring these realities doesn't make them go away. Women drop out of STEM programs at higher rates than men, and it's not because they're less capable. Maybe some women drop out for reasons that have nothing to do with discrimination. Like what? Customer is getting heated now. Like maybe they find other interests. Maybe they decide engineering isn't for them. Maybe they want to start families. Maybe a million reasons that don't require assuming everyone around them is sexist. Those choices don't happen in a vacuum. Social pressures influence all of those decisions. So women can't make real choices about their own lives? Of course they can, but those choices are shaped by systems that limit their options. Or maybe some women just don't want to be engineers, and that's okay. Getting frustrated with his refusal to engage seriously. When boys don't want to be engineers, nobody asks if it's because of societal pressure. When girls don't want to be engineers, it's seen as natural preference. Don't you see the double standard? Customer takes a deep breath. Look, My daughter has wanted to be an engineer since she was 8 years old. She's taken advanced math and science throughout high school. She's excited about college. I came here to buy her a laptop, not to have someone tell me she's going to be miserable. I never said she'd be miserable. I said she should be prepared. Prepared for what? To assume every interaction is hostile? To look for discrimination in every conversation? Prepared to recognize bias when it happens so she can address it effectively. Jake, who's been quiet, finally speaks up. Sarah, maybe the best way to prepare her is to get her a good computer that helps her succeed at what she wants to do. Technical tools are only part of success, Jake. Customer nods at Jake. Exactly. Look, I understand you think you're being helpful, but you're not. You're taking something positive and making it negative. I'm being realistic. No, you're being pessimistic. There's a difference. Angus rejoins our group. Everything okay here? Customer looks relieved to see him. We're trying to decide between laptops, but we keep getting sidetracked. Angus shoots me a warning look. Happy to help with that. What's most important to you in a laptop? Good performance for engineering software, reliable, good warranty. Great. We have several options that fit those criteria. Trying to add value to the conversation. And you'll want to make sure she's comfortable asking for help when she needs it, because a lot of women struggle with that in tech environments. Customer stops looking at laptops, turns to face me directly. Why do you keep doing this? Doing what? Telling me my daughter is going to have problems. Telling me she's going to struggle. Telling me she needs special preparation for things that might not even happen. Because these things do happen, and pretending they don't helps no one. But you don't know my daughter. You don't know what her experience will be like. I know what the research says about women's experiences in engineering programs. Research about other people, not her, getting frustrated because he's missing the point. Individual experiences are shaped by broader patterns. And individual experiences can also break broader patterns, only if we acknowledge the patterns exist in the first place. I'm not denying patterns exist. I'm saying my daughter isn't a statistic. Everyone's experience is individual, but that doesn't mean systemic issues don't affect them. Customer is looking really tired now. Do you have kids? No, but do you work in engineering? No, but I understand. Do you know my daughter? Obviously not, but then why are you so convinced you know what her experience is going to be like? Pause, because this is clearly bad faith. Because I care about women's experiences in male-dominated fields. By assuming those experiences will be negative? By being realistic about challenges that exist? Jake interrupts. Maybe we could focus on finding a laptop that will help her handle whatever comes up. Customer nods gratefully. That sounds perfect. But we shouldn't ignore the context she'll be using it in. Angus steps closer to me. Sarah, why don't you help other customers? I'll finish up here. I'm providing valuable perspective. Customer speaks up. Actually, I'd prefer to work with Angus or Jake. Stung by the rejection, but trying to stay professional. I understand. I just want to make sure you have all the information you need. I have the information I need. I need a laptop for my daughter who's going to study engineering. That's it. Okay, but if you change your mind about discussing the social aspects, I won't. Walking away to help other customers, but lingering close enough to hear their conversation. They're talking about processor speeds and RAM like those are the only things that matter, missing the bigger picture entirely. Next customer is a young guy, maybe college age, looking at gaming equipment. Perfect opportunity to address toxic gaming culture. Looking for anything specific today? Yeah, I need a new headset. Mine broke. Gaming headset? Yeah. Do you play online games? Mostly, yeah. Have you noticed how hostile gaming spaces can be toward women? He looks confused. I mean, some people are jerks online. Right, but women face specific types of harassment in gaming that men don't typically experience. Okay? I'm just wondering if you've thought about how your behavior in games might affect women players. I don't harass people, if that's what you're asking. That's good, but harassment isn't the only issue. Even well-meaning behavior can contribute to unwelcoming environments. Like what? Finally, someone willing to engage. Like assuming women players are less skilled, or being surprised when a woman is good at a game, or making comments about their voice in chat. I don't do any of that stuff. That's great, but do you call out other players when they do? He shifts uncomfortably. I mean, if it's really bad. What counts as really bad to you? Like, actual threats or really explicit stuff. But not the smaller stuff that still makes women uncomfortable? I don't know. I'm not responsible for everyone else's behavior. But silence can be interpreted as agreement. When you don't speak up, you're kind of enabling the behavior. So I'm supposed to police everyone in every game? Not police. Just create a more inclusive environment. By starting arguments with strangers online? By making it clear that disrespectful behavior isn't okay? He's getting defensive. Look, I just want to play games and have fun. I'm not trying to make anyone uncomfortable, but I'm also not trying to be the social justice police. Social justice police? Is that how you see efforts to make gaming more welcoming? I see it as making everything complicated when it doesn't need to be. It's only complicated if you think women feeling welcome is complicated. That's not what I said. But it's what you implied. No, it's what you interpreted. Getting frustrated with his defensiveness. When marginalized groups tell you about their experiences, the appropriate response is to listen and learn, not to dismiss their concerns as complicated. I'm not dismissing anything. I'm saying I can't control other people. But you can control your own response to other people's behavior. And I told you I don't harass anyone. Not harassing isn't the same as actively supporting inclusion. So I have to actively fight for inclusion, or I'm part of the problem? Neutrality in situations of injustice supports the status quo. Jesus Christ, I just want to buy a headset. Angus appears again. Everything okay over here? Customer looks relieved again. I'm looking for a gaming headset. She's trying to recruit me for some kind of gaming activism. Angus sighs. Sarah, can you handle inventory in the back for a bit? I'm helping a customer understand the social impact of gaming culture. The customer wants a headset, Sarah. And I'm trying to help him be a better member of gaming communities. Customer interrupts. I didn't ask for help with that. Sometimes we need to hear things we didn't ask for. Customer stares at me. Are you serious, right? Now? Dead serious. Your comfort isn't more important than women's safety in gaming spaces. My comfort? You're lecturing me about things that have nothing to do with why I came here. Angus steps between us. Sarah, inventory, now. Fine, but this conversation matters. Customer shakes his head. No, it doesn't. Not here, not now, not with me. Heading to the back room, can hear Angus apologizing to the customer. They're talking about headset features now, completely missing the opportunity for education. Typical male avoidance of uncomfortable topics. Jake finds me in the back room. Sarah, what's going on today? I'm trying to do meaningful work instead of just pushing products. But you're making customers uncomfortable. Sometimes discomfort is the beginning of growth. Or sometimes discomfort is just discomfort, and people leave without buying anything. If they're not willing to examine their role in harmful systems, maybe they shouldn't be buying products that enable those systems. Jake stares at me. You want to stop selling gaming equipment because of online harassment? I want to sell gaming equipment to people who understand their responsibility to create inclusive spaces. Sarah, that's not how retail works. Maybe retail needs to change. Maybe you need to understand what your job actually is. Getting defensive. My job is customer service. Helping people understand the social impact of their purchases is service. No, Sarah. Your job is helping people find products that meet their needs. Their needs include being better human beings. That's not your call to make. Someone has to make it. Jake looks tired. Why does it have to be you? Because if not me, then who? Angus clearly won't do it. You won't do it. Maybe because it's not appropriate in a retail environment. When is it appropriate? When do we have conversations about how technology and culture intersect? I don't know, but not when people are trying to buy laptops for their daughters or headsets for gaming. Those are exactly the moments when these conversations matter most. Angus comes into the back room. Sarah, we need to talk. About what? About your behavior today. My behavior? I'm trying to provide educational customer service. You're driving customers away. Good customers won't be driven away by conversations about inclusion. Sarah, the customer looking for a laptop just left without buying anything. Pause. Maybe he realized he needed to have more conversations with his daughter about what she'll face. Or maybe he decided to shop somewhere else because our employee made him feel bad about being excited for his daughter's future. I didn't make him feel bad. I gave him realistic information. You told him his daughter was going to face discrimination and harassment. She probably will. That's not my fault. That's reality. But it's not your place to assume that about her. Specific situation. Getting frustrated with their resistance. So we're supposed to pretend discrimination doesn't exist? We're supposed to sell computers and headsets, Sarah. And perpetuate systems of oppression through our silence? We're supposed to do our jobs. This is my job. Customer service means serving customers' actual needs, not just their consumer needs. Jake speaks up. Their actual need was buying products of Sarah. Their actual need is understanding how those products fit into broader systems of power and privilege. Angus and Jake exchange a look. Sarah, sit down. Why? Because we need to have a serious conversation about your approach to customer service. Sitting down reluctantly. I'm listening. Angus takes a deep breath. Do you understand why customers were uncomfortable today? Because they're not used to being challenged to think critically about their role in oppressive systems. Or because they came here to buy things and you lectured them about topics they didn't ask about. Topics that are relevant to their purchases. According to who? According to basic social awareness. Jake leans forward. Sarah, do you think maybe your approach might be counterproductive? Counterproductive how? If people leave here feeling bad or defensive, are they more likely or less likely to think about the issues you want them to think about? Pause to consider this. Sometimes, discomfort is necessary for growth. But if they just avoid the discomfort by shopping elsewhere, no growth happens at all. Starting to get the feeling they're ganging up on me. So your solution is to say nothing? To just enable harmful systems through our silence? Angus sighs. My solution is to do our jobs well and treat customers with respect. I am treating them with respect. I'm respecting their capacity to learn and grow. You're not respecting their right to make purchases without being lectured. Rights aren't more important than responsibilities. Their responsibility to listen to your social commentary, their responsibility to understand how their choices affect others. Jake shakes his head. Sarah, you don't get to decide what other people's responsibilities are. Someone has to. If we all just focus on our own little bubbles, nothing changes. But forcing conversations on unwilling participants isn't effective activism. So what is effective activism? I don't know, but probably not ambushing customers in a retail store, feeling attacked and misunderstood. I'm not ambushing anyone. I'm trying to have meaningful conversations about important topics. With people who didn't consent to those conversations, Angus points out. Consent? We're talking about social awareness, not personal information. Consent to having their shopping experience turned into a social justice workshop. Maybe every experience should be a learning experience. Maybe people deserve to buy headsets without being told they're responsible for online harassment, Jake says. If they're not responsible, then who is? The people actually doing the harassing, and the people who stay silent when harassment happens. So every gamer is responsible for every bad thing that happens in gaming? Every person is responsible for the culture they participate in. Angus throws his hands up. Sarah, by that logic, you're responsible for every bad thing that happens in retail because you work in retail. That's different. How is that different? Because I'm actively working to change retail culture by having these conversations. No, you're making customers uncomfortable and driving away business. Good. If our business model depends on avoiding difficult conversations, maybe we shouldn't be in business. Angus stares at me. Sarah, do you hear yourself? I hear someone who cares more about justice than profit. You hear someone who wants to put her co-workers out of a job for the sake of unsolicited social commentary. That hits different than expected. That's not what I want. But it's the logical result of what you're doing. People need to have these conversations somewhere. Agreed. But somewhere doesn't have to be here, with customers who didn't ask for them. Jake leans back in his chair. Sarah, can I ask you something? Sure. When you talk to customers about these issues, how often do they seem genuinely interested in hearing your perspective? Thinking about today's interactions, it's not about interest, it's about necessity. But if they're not interested, how effective do you think you're being? Effectiveness isn't always immediate. Okay, but if they leave feeling defensive and annoyed, are they more likely or less likely to think positively about the issues you care about? Pause. They might think about them later. Or they might associate those issues with being lectured by a stranger while trying to shop. This is an uncomfortable thought. So you think I should just stay silent? I think you should consider whether there might be more effective ways to promote the changes you want to see. Like what? Angus speaks up. Like focusing on being excellent at your actual job, so people have positive experiences here. Positive experiences that reinforce harmful systems? Positive experiences that make people feel good about shopping here so they come back and tell their friends. And then what? More people come here to buy things without thinking about the broader implications? More people come here and interact with someone who does excellent work and treats them well. That's not enough. Why not? Struggling to articulate this. Because there are bigger problems that need addressing. And you think addressing them in our store with customers who didn't ask is the most effective approach? Someone has to start these conversations somewhere. But does it have to be you, here, now, with unwilling participants? Getting emotional because they're not understanding. If not me, then who? If not here, then where? If not now, then when? Jake speaks gently. Sarah, there are lots of people having these conversations in lots of places. You don't have to carry the entire burden of social change. But if everyone thinks someone else will do it, no one does it. That's not true. People are working on these issues in appropriate contexts all the time. Appropriate contexts? Contexts where people choose to engage with these topics. People don't choose to confront uncomfortable truths. That's why they need to be confronted with them. Angus sighs deeply. Sarah, what if forcing these conversations actually makes people more resistant to the ideas you care about? This stops me short. What do you mean? What if associating social justice with unwanted lectures makes people less sympathetic to social justice causes? That would be their choice. But it would be a choice influenced by your approach. Uncomfortable silence while I process this. So you're saying I'm hurting the causes I care about? I'm saying it's possible that your approach might be counterproductive. Then what should I do? Focus on doing your job well and treating people with genuine respect for their autonomy. Autonomy to remain ignorant. Autonomy to make their own choices about when and how they engage with social issues. Even if those choices perpetuate harm? You can't control other people's choices, Sarah. You can only control your own. Feeling defeated, but still convinced I'm right. This is exactly why nothing changes. Everyone's too comfortable to have difficult conversations. Jake leans forward. Or maybe change happens more effectively through relationship building than through confrontation. Relationship building with people who benefit from unjust systems? So, relationship building with people, period. People are more likely to listen to someone they trust and respect. They should listen because the issues matter, not because they like the messenger. Should? Yes. But in reality, relationships matter for how people process new information. Angus nods. Sarah, think about it this way. If someone approached you in a store and started lecturing you about something you hadn't asked about, how would you respond? I'd listen because I care about learning and growing. Would you, really? Or would you feel defensive and annoyed, forced to consider this honestly? I might feel defensive initially. Right, and when you feel defensive, how open are you to changing your mind? Less open, I guess. So what makes you think other people are different? Long pause while I think about this. I suppose I thought if the issues were important enough, people would get past their defensiveness. Important to who, Jake asks gently. Important objectively. But people don't experience importance objectively. They experience it personally. So what? We just cater to everyone's comfort level and never challenge anything? No, Angus says. We find ways to challenge that are actually effective. And you don't think confronting people with uncomfortable truths is effective? Not when they haven't chosen to be confronted. Sitting with this for a moment. So when is confrontation appropriate? When people have opted into conversations where confrontation might happen, Jake suggests. Like where? Like discussion groups or classes or forums specifically for these topics. But that's preaching to the choir. The people who need to hear these messages aren't in those spaces. Maybe, Angus says, but forcing messages on unwilling audiences might not reach them either. So how do we reach them? By building relationships first, by earning the right to be heard. Earning the right? These are basic human rights issues. Yes, but rights to speak don't guarantee rights to be heard. This is a distinction I hadn't considered. So you think I need to earn credibility before I can address these issues? I think you need to consider whether your current approach is actually changing any minds. Reflecting on today's interactions, the laptop customer seemed pretty resistant. How did that make you feel? Frustrated, like he was choosing to stay ignorant. And how do you think it made him feel? Probably defensive, maybe attacked. And when people feel attacked, are they more likely or less likely to consider new perspectives? Less likely. So what happened in that interaction? Thinking through this. He came in excited about his daughter's future, and he left feeling defensive about everything. And how does that serve your goals? It doesn't. It might actually work against your goals. Feeling the weight of this realization, oh, Jake speaks carefully. Sarah, it seems like you really care about these issues. I do. And you want to make a positive difference. More than anything. But what if the way you're trying to make a difference is actually creating more resistance to the changes you want? This hits hard. You think I'm making things worse? I think your intentions are good, but your approach might be counterproductive. So what should I do differently? Angus speaks up. Focus on being the kind of person others want to listen to. What does that look like? Excellent at your job, kind to customers, respectful of their autonomy, someone who builds trust over time. And then what? Then maybe, in the right contexts, with people who trust you, you might have opportunities for the conversations you want to have. But that could take forever. Sustainable change usually does take time, Jake says gently. Meanwhile, harmful systems keep operating, and confrontational approaches might strengthen people's commitment to those systems. Sitting quietly, processing all of this, starting to see how today's interactions might have looked from the customer's perspectives. I think I might have made some mistakes today. We all make mistakes, Angus says. The question is what we learn from them. I wanted to help people understand important issues. That's a good goal. But I might have just made them associate those issues with being uncomfortable and annoyed. That's possible. So I might have actually hurt the causes I care about. This realization is hitting hard. I never thought about it that way. It's hard to see our own impact sometimes, Jake says kindly, especially when our intentions are good. Yeah, Angus leans forward. Sarah, what if instead of trying to educate every customer about social issues, you focused on providing such excellent service that people leave here feeling good about their experience? How does that help with social change? People who have positive experiences here will recommend us to others. So more people get to interact with our diverse team and see that we do good work. I'm not following, Jake explains. Representation matters, right? People seeing that women can be excellent at tech retail, that diversity makes businesses better? I guess. That's a form of social change. Quiet, gradual, but real. It seems so small. Small changes add up over time, and they don't create backlash the way confrontational approaches might. But it feels like giving up on bigger conversations. Angus shakes his head. It's not giving up. It's being strategic about when and how you have those conversations. When is the right time? When people are genuinely curious, when they ask questions, when they trust you enough to hear difficult things. And that happens by doing good work and building relationships first? Often, yeah. Thinking about this approach. It seems so slow. But it might be more sustainable, Jake points out, and more effective in the long run. I feel like there's so much urgency around these issues. There is urgency, Angus agrees, but urgency doesn't always mean confrontation is the right tool. What does it mean? It means finding the most effective ways to create change, even if they're not the most emotionally satisfying ways. This distinction between emotionally satisfying and actually effective is hitting me hard. You think confronting people was emotionally satisfying for me? Was it? Jake asks, thinking honestly. Kind of, yeah. It felt like I was doing something important. But was it actually important if it didn't change any minds? No, I guess not. So maybe the question is how to do things that are actually important, even if they don't feel as immediately satisfying. Long silence while I process this. I think I need to apologize to those customers. They're gone, Angus says gently. I know, but if they come back, I should apologize. That would be good. And I should probably think about how to approach these issues differently. That sounds wise? I still care about the same things. Of course you do, and you should. But maybe I need to be smarter about how I pursue them. Jake nods. Change is hard, and it usually happens slowly, through relationship building rather than confrontation, even when the issues are really important. Especially when the issues are really important. Important changes need to be sustainable. I think I've been trying to force conversations that need to happen naturally. That's a really insightful observation, Angus says, and natural conversations happen when people trust each other and feel safe. Which doesn't happen when customers feel ambushed by unexpected lectures, feeling embarrassed about my behavior today. I was so focused on the importance of the message that I ignored whether anyone was actually in a position to hear it. We've all done that in different ways, Jake says kindly. It's hard to find the balance between caring about issues and being effective advocates for them. So tomorrow I just do my job well and wait for natural opportunities. Tomorrow you focus on providing excellent customer service, Angus confirms, and if opportunities for deeper conversations arise naturally, with willing participants, then maybe you explore them carefully. But not with every customer who walks through the door. No, definitely not with every customer. Most customers just want to buy things and have a pleasant experience doing it. And that's okay. That's more than okay. That's their right. Standing up, feeling like this conversation has fundamentally shifted something for me. I think I understand now why people seem so frustrated with me today. It takes courage to examine our own behavior like this, Jake says. I don't feel courageous. I feel like I messed up. Messing up is how we learn, Angus says. And recognizing when we've messed up is the first step toward doing better. Go. I want to do better. Then you will. Walking back out to the main store, seeing it differently now. Customers browsing, employees helping them find what they need. Simple interactions, but meaningful ones. People getting what they came for and leaving satisfied. Maybe that is enough. Maybe that's actually more than enough. Maybe building a reputation for excellent, respectful service creates more positive change than confrontational lectures. Maybe I've been so focused on grand gestures that I missed the value of consistent, quality interactions. Tomorrow, I'll try a different approach. Tomorrow, I'll focus on helping customers find what they actually want. And if opportunities for deeper conversations arise naturally, I'll handle them with more care and wisdom, but I won't force them. Because forcing doesn't work. And because people deserve better than that. And because the causes I care about deserve better advocacy than that. Sitting with the realization that good intentions aren't enough. Impact matters more than intent. Effectiveness matters more than emotional satisfaction. And sustainable change requires patience, strategy, and respect for other people's autonomy. Hard lessons, but important ones. Tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow will be better.